everybody, welcome back to another Reacts. Today we're watching Confessions of a Fast Food Employee.
You know, one effect that working at fast food restaurants has had on me is that I now permanently view these establishments very differently. And this has nothing to do with the food itself, because everybody already knows that what you eat at a fast food place is questionable. You know that.
I mean, it's not fresh, it's not good. I mean, but there are people out there who have to rely on that and eat that. Nothing wrong with that.
You order it. Burger was just infused with GMO super molecules. That's probably how they get it to taste so good.
It's science.
Matter of fact, hit my burger with another syringe of whatever the good stuff is. But no, what I'm talking about is the type of stuff that goes down in the back in these fast food kitchens that you as the customer never see and never know about. And it's all as a result of some of the absolute menaces they hire at some of these places. I think a food handler's card is really just a piece of paper they'll sell to anybody with $10.
That's weird.
I hate to see it. Let me give you just one example off the top of my head, which this is an all-time fast food classic. In fact, you've probably been a victim of something like this yourself without even knowing it.
Yep.
So back in the kitchen, we had these big plastic waste buckets that we would use to throw old food in after it sat out too long. And we had two of them, one for the chicken and one for the fries.
I have worked at a fast food when I was young. Yeah, when I was a teen. Growing up, did eat a lot from there, but let's just see what happens.
It would fill up with waste as the day went on. And the reason
I do know that a Dunkin' throws away their donuts at the end of the day. My family also did work at a lot of fast food places when we were young. My mom did work at Dunkin'. She remembers working at Dunkin'. Before Dunkin' became popular and for what it is, my mom worked there before, okay?
And the biggest amounts of waste would happen when we were in the middle of a rush, you know, customers pouring in. So we're cooking basket after basket to keep up with all the customers, right? But then sometimes these rushes would just suddenly end. Get Thanos snapped out of nowhere, it would seem. And we'd be stuck with just mountains of food and not enough customers. And then all this food would just sit out, get all soggy, mushy, start changing colors.
Yep, that is a thing. I do get a lot of times cold fries, old food. And, you know, sometimes it's just sadly just, you know, a lazy worker or someone just not motivated enough.
And we'd fill that thing up to the top with decomposing chicken fingers pretty much every day.
Ew!
And that whole thing would end up in the dumpster with the roaches at the end of the night. So one particular night, it's a couple hours before closing, and there's only a couple of us employees left in the restaurant. And I'm not even making people's orders. I'm in the back mopping up the floors. It was my coworker that was on the line making orders, and the manager was away in his office. And when the manager was in his office, that was always a good sign. Manager in the office meant that orders were going out quickly, and there were no problems and nothing for them to come out and yell at us about. Because to give you some background, the one thing that everything revolved around at this chicken franchise was the service times. It was all about getting the customer their food fast, within 2 minutes, 3 minutes max.
That is one of the unfortunate circumstances working at these places is you're on a timer, and if you don't meet the timer, they will fire you. They don't like if you're slow because it's, you know, fast food.
From the moment they ordered to the moment they were handed their food at the window.
That's why McDonald's is so fast in America, because they are on a timer to deliver you your food. They also have everything ready to go to serve you. So they're just packing it up and getting you the food.
Definitely one thing this franchise took extremely seriously. I mean, let the manager think you weren't breaking
this gotta be, my guess is this is a McDonald's.
Of time and space to crank out orders, and you would just get absolutely reamed over it. I'm talking about verbally berated. Management
that's not good.
Irate, yelling at you like, "What do you think this is all a game?"
And the unfortunate part is the managers are also underpaid as well as the workers. The managers have to yell at the workers, and it's sad. It's sad. It shouldn't happen ever.
And they threatened to throw you on dish duty. That was always the classic threat, that you'd get thrown on dish duty, not only for the rest of your current shift, but also for all future shifts indefinitely into eternity. And I mean, of course, you don't want the customer having to wait too long for their food, but management would act like they were running a special ops mission or something. I mean, let's not forget, this is a $9 fast food meal. So on this night, like I said, I'm mopping up in the back and a customer pulls up to the drive-thru and he orders a 3-piece combo. Simple, basic order, right?
Yeah,
Easy
that is
enough.
pretty basic.
So the order...
Yelling at the employees makes sense if they are idiots. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people who work fast food places are probably underage, or there's some people who also work there like that don't have an education or a background. Maybe they're getting started on their foot, but yeah, they do get yelled at and abused by their bosses, and it's not cool and unfun. It's not a good experience to be in. It's really, really unfortunate that these establishments go through such big or high mistreatment.
Comes in and my coworker up front, he starts making the meal, making the toast, getting the fries.
Yeah.
And I notice all the way from the back, the customer ordered a 3-piece, but there's only 2 fingers in the chicken holder. We're 1 finger short. I look at the timer for how long until fresh chicken, and a new batch was still 3 minutes away. Then I look at the drive-thru timer, and this car had already been sitting there for 2.5 minutes. So I'm doing the math in my head.
Not that 2.5 minutes.
And that's a 5.5 minute order. An atrocity right there. Managers are about to be livid. And I guess bro at the order making station, he did the same math because he starts stressing out a little bit. I notice him looking back and forth between the drive-thru timer, the
I feel so bad for this guy.
made order just sitting there on the counter, and the chicken timer. Keep in mind, the whole time that drive-thru timer just keeps ticking up. 2 minutes and 40 seconds, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. That thing crossed 3 minutes, the screen turned from green to yellow.
Oh yeah, and then the beepers go off. It's so awful.
Color-coded it just
it stresses you out. It's like, why?
Let you know how much you suck at your job. And definitely don't let it get to red. That's once you hit 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So out of the corner of my eye, I'm noticing dude getting restless, doing a lot of fidgeting. He starts pacing back and forth. I mean, bro was probably having visions into the future.
I'm gonna guess he's gonna pick out the chicken from the trash can and give it to the customer.
Of getting put on permanent dish duty, scrubbing off towers of the slimiest, crustiest of dishes. But my boy was a quick decision maker, and I guess he made up his mind on how he was going to solve this situation because he walks over to the waste bin, does a quick head swivel side to side, made sure the coast was clear, and then he shrugged his shoulders, reached his hand into the chicken finger graveyard, and plucks a finger off the top. And you can already guess, he walks over to the dude's order, tucks the bad finger all discreetly under the other 2 fresh tenders, covers everything up with a piece of toast, slams the box shut, and
oh, this is fucking Cane's. Wait, guys, this is fucking Cane's because three chicken finger combo. It's fucking Cane's.
Promptly rushes it off to the drive-thru window. At which point, it was then bagged up and handed to the customer.
That's so
he
fucked
really
up.
Thought he was slick. And to be honest,
Cane's does have a lot of younger adults working there. Not adults, younger students. I actually just there's a Cane's where I live, and like I went in store and like I was eating some chicken. This lady was talking to me. She was pretty kind, but there was also another table right next to me, and they were interviewing a kid, like a high school teen, to work. But yeah, this is a fucking Cane's, bro.
He might have been because the customer drove off, and boom, 3 minutes and 18 seconds service time. Hey, that's solid.
That's not
time
good.
Right there. See, these were the types of problems he was paid to solve. Mission accomplished. And in that moment, we done turned into a chum bucket franchise. I know that might seem kind of like an extreme thing to do, but look, this is really awful. A no-lose situation if you think about it. Because the employee avoids getting yelled at by the manager. The manager doesn't have to explain high times to his boss, so he secured his bonus. And that's one less piece of food that has to be tragically wasted. That's dumb.
But that's still bad leftover chicken, right? It's not good. I like Cane's tea. It's so good. Me too. I love their tea.
W's all around. Oh, and the customer, he'll probably dip that finger in some sauce or something anyways. I bet he won't even notice.
Yep.
He'll probably have some diarrhea or something the next day.
Oh, that's not good.
He'll just chalk it up to the whole meal in general. Matter of fact, he'll probably be back next week for more. Repeat customer. But yeah, people were always going to the craziest of lengths to keep the service times low. And it wasn't always grabbing food from the waste bucket. I mean, sometimes it would be the opposite. I would see people undercook the food so it could be ready faster. they would be ripping open half-cooked pieces of chicken like, I mean, it's not that pink, right? What do you think? You think it's good? And then someone else would be
Bruh,
like,
people could get sick. That's violating health codes. That's not good.
close enough. Serve that batch up.
What?
I mean, isn't the point of rushing the food out as fast as possible to give the customer the best experience possible? Except, ironically, it would often just end up with them getting a horrible experience.
Yeah,
So,
they would
task
get
failed successfully,
sick.
I guess. I remember on another occasion that somebody got done dirty, and I would actually prefer the musty chicken finger compared to this. And this time involved a drink, specifically their sweet tea. Now, I usually worked in the kitchen, so I was in the back when this happened, but I heard about the story later that night, and this one was bad. I can't even laugh about this one. Because we had these drink dispensers that we would serve the iced tea from, right? We had like a dozen of them spread all over the restaurant. Some were in the lobby, some were behind the counter, a few at the drive-thru. And we had to clean each one of these containers every single night. Take them all apart, clean all the little pieces, and then put them all back together.
That is so tedious. I know this really cool tea place where you can just get your own tea. Like you self-serve your own tea. But I didn't know cleaning those things, you have to do it one by one. That sucks.
Kind of a headache. So sometimes, to make it easier, instead of cleaning them all after we closed, we would give whoever was on dish duty a head start and take them down maybe an hour or so before we closed.
That's
so
good.
We would combine what was left in every tea holder from the entire restaurant into a single 5-gallon bucket and serve tea out of that bucket for the rest of the night. So
What? Did they combine all that leftover tea? What?
Upside was you got to start on the dishes early, but the downside with the bucket is it was kind of a hassle to use because you had to basically scoop the tea with a separate cup down into the bucket and then pour that cup
That's not very good. That's not sanitary at all. This is not good.
To the other cup as opposed to just pouring it straight from the dispenser. So on this night, like usual, they had taken down early all of the many tea dispensers and piled them all up at the dish station for whatever lucky individual was on dish to start working on. But I guess the girl that was on drive-thru was getting a lot more iced tea orders than was normal for this.
Oh no! And you have to press the drive-thru computer, and then touch the tea.
Tired of having to scoop
the potion of plague
out of the bucket. So she walked back to the dish station, grabbed one of the tea dispensers from the dish pile, walked it back to the drive-thru, and dumped the 5-gallon bucket back into the dispenser. And the dish guy, he could just clean that one final tea dispenser at the very end of the night, no problem, right?
Right.
So like 10 minutes passes by. She's working the drive-thru like normal. She serves a few customers their tea. At which point,
that's good.
The dish guy, Michael, leaves his dish station and walks over to the drive-thru. And he's looking at the tea kind of in a confused way. And he's like, wait a minute. That tea dispenser right there. Where did you get that from? And she says, oh, I got it from your dish rack. I had brought them all over to you maybe 10 minutes ago, but we got kind of busy, so I just took this one back. And Michael's like, Sarah.
That's the mixed gunky tea.
Please tell me you haven't been serving tea to people out of that tea dispenser. And she's like, yeah, like I just said. I got annoyed having to scoop tea by hand, so I've just been using this for the last 10 minutes. And Michael just starts looking horrified. He looks like he ate one of them rotten chicken fingers. And the reason being, I guess what had happened was when she had originally brought those tea dispensers over to him, he had took it upon himself to spray down the insides of those containers with bleach. Just
Oh my God! Not the bleach!
Doused all of them.
They're serving bleach to customers is insane.
In nothing but raw chlorine bleach.
That's
and
bad.
We would always just soak those tea dispensers with bleach because it helped with getting all the tea stains out. It was a
But there was already tea in that. Why would she serve? Oh my God.
Typical thing we would do. And so he soaked them all in bleach like normal and then turned his back on them. Probably started working on other dishes while waiting for the bleach to soak in. But Sarah, she always worked the drive-thru. She had never done dish before.
Yeah, of course. It's always the fucking drive-thru worker, man.
So she wasn't aware that dousing the tea containers with bleach was a standard everyday process. Because here's the thing, when you first spray bleach onto something, it would be kind of bubbly, and you could clearly tell that something was just sprayed all over it. But let 10 minutes go by and the bubbles would pop, the bleach would run down the sides, and it all just combined with whatever tea was left at the bottom. I don't think she would have been able to tell that there were any chemicals in there at all. So by the time...
Usually bleach is like clear, so that's why. So that's why it had an extra flavor. Oh my God.
Sarah walked back over. She didn't know anything was wrong. Michael didn't catch her. He was oblivious. Nobody noticed anything. And so she set up that dispenser, poured the tea bucket into it, where it was combined with who knows how much bleach. Next thing you know, they're serving up in
that is like killing people, literally.
Industrial grade iced tea, disinfected beverages. So yeah, that was not good. That was definitely not good. But I gotta be honest, things would only go on to get worse. Because if we run down the list of food code violations,
there's so many violations here.
A musty, crusty chicken finger over bleached iced tea. I mean, one is nasty, the other one is just straight up dangerous.
Yeah.
But I would also prefer bleached iced tea to the worst abomination I had ever seen cooked up in that kitchen.
What?
I mean, bleached tea is pretty bad, and this one might be even worse. I don't know, they're close. And this one involved a
This is all at Raising Cane's, by the way. The crinkle fries, the red cups, the hat, it's all Raising Cane's.
Too. We'll call
and the bread. The bread, obviously. This is obviously Raising Cane's.
Manager Jim. If you guys remember this guy, the menace of fast food himself.
Yeah.
You remember, he was the one that assaulted the homie Nico back when we were still kids in high school. I'll link the video on the end card at the end of the video if you haven't seen it. But yeah, this is that same Jim. What a guy. And another item on the long list of his war crimes was when we accidentally cooked up a toxic abomination of a batch of food one day, an entire batch, and it was an accident, I'll get into it. But then it was Jim that served the whole thing up to a few lucky customers. Yeah, the reign of Jim as assistant manager saw many dark moments. Now, how did we accidentally cook up this toxic abomination in the first place? Well, you see, what had happened was the fryers at this place would get filthy, right? If you drain the oil out of them, all you would see left behind is just a graveyard of gunk and grime, stuff burnt onto the metal, just nasty stuff caked all over the insides. But we had a rotating cleaning schedule where the openers every few mornings
like
would
KFC,
clean 2 fryers. So this would ensure that every fryer would get cleaned out about every week or so. And the way we would clean these, it was a whole project. You would start by scrubbing off as much as you could get by hand. And once you couldn't get any more, you'd fill up the fryer with water to try and boil off the rest of everything else that was stuck on. And stuff would really be stuck on there. This was like when you forget to soak the pan in water after you're done cooking and find it 3 hours later, but times 1,000. And so food and grease would be so burnt on that even the boiling water wasn't enough. So we also had this powdered fryer cleaner. It was basically just a mixture of a ton of chemicals, and you dump that into the boiling water, and that mixture was supposed to be powerful enough to just completely purge the fryer. And it definitely was. Those fryers would come out looking brand new after.
That's crazy.
But the thing with this fryer cleaner is it was highly toxic. Highly. And because it was so toxic, after you cleaned the fryer of the actual charred food and grease that was in there,
that is literally killing people. How do they let this slide? What if somebody starts dying, choking there?
To clear out any toxic residue that might be left. So you had to basically clean out the cleaner. And that was the most important part of the process. After you boiled that fryer clean using this toxic potion, you drain the mixture out of there, and then you had to make 110% sure to rinse out that fryer very, very well so that absolutely no residue from the fryer cleaner was left behind. That step was very important. In fact, we would drag in the hose from outside and you would just blast the fryer with it to make sure every speck of that fryer cleaner gets washed away.
I mean, at least they clean it, kind of.
You didn't leave behind a single particle of this poison. You could now pour some fresh oil back in the fryer and start cooking again. And here's the thing, is you would immediately know if you left any fryer cleaner behind. Because if you did, as soon as you tried to fry something in there, everything would react and the whole thing would just start foaming up like crazy. You would definitely know. It looked like something that would give you superpowers if you fell into it. Well, one day we were just about finished up cleaning one of the fryer slots, and we were running a little behind schedule on this day because we were supposed to be finished with the fryer cleaning in the morning, but it was already lunchtime and we were just now wrapping up. So Jim is already stressed thin because the lunch rush is coming through and you're not really supposed to be down a fryer going into the lunch rush.
Yeah, because I get it, because it gets really, really busy. Having one machine down is like the God forbid that happens, because then it slows down service. Now, having a clean station, I would choose that versus any day if I'm like a restaurant owner. But like a fast food place, you don't care about that. You care more about getting customers their food as soon as possible, because it's got to be fast. It sucks.
So because of that, we're having trouble keeping up with orders. Tickets are just piling up one after the
This
other.
is bad.
And Jim's yelling at us to hurry up with the cleaning.
What fast food place is this? This is literally Cane's. This is giving Raising Cane's. The toast, the chicken fingers, the crinkle fries. It is Raising Cane's. I solved the mystery, guys. Don't go to Raising Cane's.
Always yelling constantly, and today was no exception.
No wonder though that like Raising Cane's has really good service, quote unquote, but you don't know what goes behind the scenes. So maybe that's why I'm getting like my food really fast from this fast food restaurant, because they're giving me old ass chicken fingers, or they have a really mean boss, or I'm getting bleach poison sweet tea. I don't know. But yeah, that's the thick of it.
Yelling at us to bring the fryer online ASAP. But no worries, right? No worries.
No
because
worries.
The oil finally finishes heating up. I start dropping chicken into the newly cleaned fryer, right? I'm loading up the fryer with as much as could fit. We have like 25 tickets to make, but it's all good. We've got plenty of food on the way. But then it's a couple minutes into the chicken cooking, and I'm watching it cook, and I'm seeing a few more bubbles flying out of the oil than normal. And then those few extra bubbles turned into a little bit of frothiness, and then that turned into the whole fryer just overflowing to the brim with foam. I was like, oh nah, it's over. I don't remember whose specific job it was to wash the fryers clean that day, but they for sure messed up. But regardless, here we were. So I had to go personally deliver the bad news to Jim, which I wasn't thrilled about because, like I told the story in an old video, this man has been known to assault his workers before. So I try to lay it down lightly. That's messed
up.
Right?
Assaulting any worker at all? You should never do that. That's messed up. The chicken foam though is crazy.
Right, he's busy making orders around the corner or something, and I walk over to him. I'm like, "Hey Jim, let me show you something real quick. This batch of chicken, the one that was supposed to be ready in a few minutes, yeah, I think we're gonna have to scrap the whole thing." And as I was explaining to him about the toxic oil and all that, Jim starts realizing what had happened. This man's face starts turning red with anger, just like the current color of the service.
Report him to management, but he is the manager. How do you report your manager without getting fired?
Does make sense. We're low on food. Tickets are printing out of the machine.
It's freaking Cane's.
You know, some construction crew pulls up on their lunch.
Look, you know how I know it's Cane's as well? That's their sauce. That's the signature sauce, man.
Printing out of the machine nonstop. You know, some construction crew pulls up on their lunch break, 10 deep. Things were getting chaotic. No. And so Jim looks at the fryer, walks over to it, picks up the baskets out of the foaming oil, and threw everything in the trash. Is what I wish I could say happened. But instead, no, how it actually happened, he picks up the chicken, moves it to the empty fryer directly next to it, and he says, "All right, there we go. See, it's in clean oil now. I'm sure the batch will be fine. Just avoid that toxic oil until we can clean it out again. All right, continue work as normal." And my coworker and myself were looking at each other. And my coworker, he was like, wait a minute. What do you mean by that batch will be fine? You're talking about those baskets of chicken right there that have just been marinating in who knows what type of toxicity? Chemicals infused into every fiber of every chicken finger?
Oh,
I mean, that's how cooking
that's
stuff
contamination.
In oil works, right? That's crazy. This was too far even for rotten chicken finger guy. Even he's looking around like.
But this is like one of many, if not thousands, of fast food stories, like health violations that happen. There's a lot that goes behind the scenes that you will never ever know. Like your chicken has touched some crazy shit or food, whatever.
I believe this chicken is anywhere but the dumpster right now. And then there was the additional problem that the oil he had transferred the chicken into, it was clean, but I feel like we now contaminated that oil too, therefore contaminating all future food cooked in both fryers. So we just kept going further and further in the wrong direction. But Jim, he's like, no, we don't have time for any of this, all right? Look right there. That timer is going off. That means the food is ready. Pull that food out. And what Jim says goes. So he saw to it that the chicken
cross-contamination of that. Like that oil is now in the new oil. Yes.
Finished cooking, and then
people are going to get ill.
The entire batch. And I'm talking about the entire batch, bro. Not one finger left over. He starts moving in fast motion, making mad platters of this toxic chicken and throwing them up on the completed orders area. And we did this thing at that restaurant where if there were little tiny pieces of chicken that weren't big enough to count as a full finger, we'd throw a couple of those into people's orders for free. And I didn't even see any of those left over. He used up every aspect of that batch. Hey, that rotten chicken is looking like a pretty good alternative right about now. I mean, good thing no customer had to be inconvenienced with an additional 5-minute wait, right? Anything like that. Yeah, those customers ate that chicken and got x-ray vision afterwards. So look, guys, come through. You know, we got chemical infused chicken. You could wash it down with some bleached iced tea. Yay. Fries could have been taken from the rotten pile. And it will only take 2 minutes and 30 seconds for us to get all of that to you. I know, it's pretty impressive.
Well, that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed Confessions of a Fast Food Employee. That is crazy. There's no way people do that. That's just wild. All right, I'll see you on the next one.